So it's been a long periodically time. Um, I don't have a good excuse for my absence. I did get a promotion though. I don't know why I'm telling y'all my business, but I did get a promotion and I was just really busy during the time I was supposed to crank this out. And now I'm not as busy, but it's been I think it's been a whole season change since my last video. But and this video is very appropriate to Sagittarius because I barely prepare. Like I usually write like a few pages down of just like, oh this type is like this type is like that. I mean I did that, but it's not quite a few pages. But you know, this is in true Sagittarius fashion, and I do have a Sagittarius moon, so I feel like I don't really need to prepare that much because I have a Sagittarius moon, and then I have a ninth house stellium, which that's the house of Sagittarius, so it has a Sagittarius flavor to it. And a stellium is basically when you have three or more planets and or points in a close degree to each other in a certain sign or house. It makes that sign and house more important. And then I have a kind of a prominent Jupiter too, which Jupiter's the ruler of Sagittarius. So I have a lot of Sag energy. So I can talk about Sag a lot. And Sag is probably my favorite sign. Like I really like Scorpio, but I don't know, Sag energy just makes me happy. Like Scorpio energy can depress the fuck out of you. Like it can make you powerful. Sag energy can make you powerful too. Actually, Sag is another sign that has a lot of talents, and I'm really disappointed with the information that's out there about Sagittarius because Sagittarius is definitely the most underrated sign. Because if you look up Sagittarius, you're gonna see something about Sagittarius being optimistic. You're always gonna read about Sagittarius being optimistic, um, or positive, having a positive mindset. Um, you're gonna see something about travel, maybe them being adventurous. Then maybe a little bit about universities, because Sagittarius rules universities. And then that's it. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is Zeus. Zeus is the god of God, kings of God. He's the most powerful god. There is no greater authority figure than him. So it's weird that when we talk about Sagittarius, we don't talk about how much power the sign can represent. We don't talk about that this is the luckiest sign of the zodiac. Yes, this sign has luck on the side. Sagittarius is also the sign of victory. So other signs can be victorious and Sagittarius can lose, but Sagittarius are more geared to win, if that makes any sense. We have the energy of victory just working within us. If a Sagittarius doesn't come out on top on whatever they're doing, a lot of times it's because they're relying on luck a little too much. That can be one thing, and they're not actually working because you still got to put work in. Um, or there's other things in their chart, or they're just not. Usually is that they're not putting forth enough work, or they have another thing is Sagittarians. Um, we don't we don't know what we want our focus to be when we're younger. And once when we find that focus, Sagittarians, it's the archer. So we find that target, we lock it, and then we hit bullseye every time. So that's what I mean by Sagittarius is a sign of, well, that's part of what I mean. Sagittarius is a sign of victory. Sagittarius is a sign that can lose, but can also be undefeatable. Just think about Nicki Minaj for a second. Nicki Minaj is a Sagittarius sun. She's also a Scorpio midheaven too. So Scorpio energy on the midheaven can make you it can make you dominate your field, and it can make you very successful as well. So with some of that energy as well, but a lot of that is Sag. That's Sag energy. Like even when Nicki Minaj became sort of controversial, you know, when her and Cardi was bumping heads, it was looking bad for Nicki for a second, and then Nicki, I think that's when she created that Queen's Talk or something like that. I'm a Nicki fan, but I'm not a Nicki stan. So, you know, even though I was one of the first Nicki fans, because I mean, a lot of y'all fucking stans like to talk shit, but y'all wasn't listening to Nicki when I was listening to Nicki back in '08. Y'all didn't know who she was until 2010. Don't think I ain't peeped that. That was Sag energy. That was Sag energy. We're some shit talkers. We can be. I'm actually not a huge shit talker, but when I start feeling myself, like especially if I'm in a mirror, which that's a little bit of my Libra energy, that's a little bit of my Neptune too. But like Sag, like I can't talk about Sag and not get a little cocky. Like I just can't, because it's just all signs are special and all signs have their superpowers. However, Sag is just one of those signs that it's the sign of supernovas. It's the sign of expansion. It's the sign that literally is a part of the expansion of the universe. So it's like this is a sign that goes above and beyond and breaks limitations. So it's hard not to, and it's a royal sign. That's another thing. Leo is not the only royal sign. I forgot to mention, but I personally consider Scorpio a sign of royalty as well. Um, I've never heard another astrologer consider Scorpio a sign of royalty. Maybe I'll make a video one day on why I consider Scorpio a sign of royalty. But I also consider Pisces a sign of royalty as well. I've heard people consider Aries a sign of royalty too. I don't see the connection. I mean, Aries is the son of Zeus, so I mean, technically, yeah, because he's the son of a king, but so is Mercury. So, you know what I mean? So is Venus. So it's kind of like one of those things where like, where does the royalty stop? And for me, I consider those four signs to be royals. Anyway, let me get back to Sagittarius and these archetypes. So, first of all, Sagittarius is a masculine sign. It is of the fire element and is mutable as far as this quality. And the first type of Sagittarius I have for you is the Preachy Professor. So, this is the know it all type of Sagittarius. And the thing about the Preachy Professor is that they are scholarly. A lot of times the Preachy Professor is one, actually a fucking professor, and if not two, very well studied. You know, Sagittarius is a sign of university. A lot of times Sagittarians, especially once Sagittarius hit like 40, 50, they have more degrees in the thermometer. Like, and we talking graduate's degrees with Sagittarius. I don't think I'm gonna ever be that Sagittarius just because I just don't like how universities function, and you know with the cost of universities too. Universities used to be a lot more affordable, but you know, I guess a lot supply and demand. We do live in a capitalist country, but I'm not about to spend $500 on a fucking book. Like I'm not like what is that book made of gold? Like I'm just is I don't know. And I love learning, and there's a part of me that does want to go to a university, and I'm gonna stop talking about myself soon, but there's a part of me that wants to go to university because like I'm intrigued, but at the same time it's like I don't like authority. That's a sash thing too. We can be rebellious. Anyway, let me get back to the Preachy Professor. So they can't actually know what they're talking about. Now, they can they can completely just blow up too. Like if a Sagittarius gets in that preachy mode, and if you're disagreeing or just not listening, that can make the Preachy Professor explode. Or even worse, if you prove them wrong. Ooh. So, yeah, like I said, usually they do know what they're talking about, but of course, they're know-it-all, so sometimes they don't know what they're talking about, and they think they do. And you prove them wrong, you might be in for a fight. And Sagittarius can be extremely violent. Now, the Preachy Professor type usually won't be very violent. But the thing with even non-violent Sagittarius is that if you just happen to piss us off, will become violent. Or if there's drugs involved, especially alcohol. And the thing of it is, Sagittarians are usually happy drunks. And I can attest for this because there was one time, and this was when I was in the military, and we were at Hooters. We weren't even supposed to fucking be at Hooters. We were under 21, but they let us drink anyway, because we had our military IDs. But I was drunk, and I'm a I love you drunk. I don't drink anymore, but back when I did, like, I'm a I love you drunk. I'm a very, like, happy, positive person when I'm drunk. But we got into a fight. I don't even know what the fight was about. I don't even know who the dudes were. We got into a fight, and I'm pretty sure I won the fight. I won the fight. I can admit when I lose. I am one of the Sag that can admit when I lose. I won the fight. We won the fight. But I was laughing like right after it. And I'm a grudge holder naturally, but that alcohol and Sagittarius usually isn't a grudge holder too. So like it depends on how deep you cut me personally. If you don't cut me that deep, I'm laughing about it. We good. If you like did something to try to betray me, like for real, a Sagittarius will get crunk about that. But like I said, if you think about the Greco-Roman myths, so Hera/Juno, and I use the names interchangeably just because Greek and Roman culture, they were intertwined. So I usually wouldn't do that with like any other pantheon just because that's disrespectful to the worldview of that culture. But with Greco-Roman people and Greco-Roman people, they were heavily intertwined. So I don't mind using the different gods' names just because they're heavily intertwined people. But anyway, Hera/Juno staged a coup against Zeus/Jupiter, and they beat him at first, but he came back on them, and he whooped everybody's ass. And then I forgot what he did to Hera, but he like suspended her in the air, and he put weights on her ankles and wrists. I want to say it's something like that, but so yeah, Sag can be violent and Sag can be vengeful, but he eventually like forgave her. And like me, I'm like, you tried to stage a coup against me. I'm not fucking forgiving you. But Sag can be that forgivable, and I think a lot of it has to do with Sag is very sure of itself. And Sag is a sign is very masculine. So just think when two dudes beef. Think about when two dudes who get along beef, especially if they're younger. And I've done this with male friends. We fight and then we good. Like anybody, if you have brothers, you've probably seen like they beat the shit out of each other, and then they good. Like they good like 5 minutes later. Like it's kind of weird, but that's how Sagittarius can be. Versus when women and very feminine people beef, it's like I might smile in your face, but I'm plotting some shit. And it's not saying that women can't be this way, because there are Sagittarian women who are like this. But stereotypically speaking, and these stereotypes exist for a reason, when feminine people, women beef, it's like we gonna beef forever. Like I'm about to destroy your reputation. I'm gonna destroy you in some way. Like if I can't physically destroy you, I'm about to blackmail the shit out of you. I'm about to, I don't know, revenge porn your ass. Even though men do that a lot, but y'all know what I mean. Y'all know what I mean. But anyway, so let me get back to the Preachy Professor. So more degrees than a thermometer. They can be an academic in their field. They can be this type of Sagittarius can be very liberal. And I don't know if it's because in the universities in the US, they are like, there's more liberal people in those fields, so they attract more liberal Sagittarius, because Sagittarius can be quite conservative, and I will get to that. But this type of Sagittarius is very open minded, has been all over the world. Yeah, they may say kind of offensive things, but with this type of Sagittarius, it's just because they're true. Like, for example, a Sagittarian of this type can love Middle Eastern culture. Love Middle Eastern culture. But the Sagittarius could have spent some time in, say, Iraq or Turkey or Iran, and they can be like, but they have an issue with honor killing. And it's not because they're stereotyping the Middle Eastern people and they're saying all Middle Eastern people do that, but they're saying this is a problem in Middle Eastern culture and it's not right. And I'm not. It goes back to that moral code. Sagittarius has typically we have a strong moral code, and right is right and wrong is wrong. So, and the only time you're gonna deviate, see a Sagittarian who is moral deviate from that, if this is over a position of power. I don't care how moral a Sagittarian is. If it's over a position of power, they will fight dirty. I'm telling on myself a little bit too. Like, if there was a position, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. If I was like a king or something, and here's my Sag energy, you know. If I was a king, this is so fucking Sagittarius. So if I was a king though, and like, I don't know, like my nephew was about to take my crown, I'm like, this motherfucking 8-year-old is not taking my crown. I wouldn't kill him or no shit like that, but I'm like, you about to get sent to boarding school in fucking Persia. Like, you're not taking my crown and you 8, bro. Like, maybe when you grown, I'm like, you know, I can retire the crown. Here you go. But you're not just taking my crown and you 8. I'm not about to listen to an 8-year-old. Like, it's not happening. No. Nephew or not, like, sit your little ass down. So I'm getting so off tangent. But I think that's the Preachy Professor in a nutshell. They can be know-it-alls, but they can actually know what they're talking about. They can be quite scholarly. They live in a university, well-traveled, usually a more liberal type of Sagittarian. So now we have the priest. So this is another very moral Sagittarius, but they're very conservative. And I find a lot of times that the priest type is homophobic. I find that a lot of other types of Sagittarians are homophobic too. And people, astrologers will usually say that Sagittarius is the most open-minded. They usually say Sagittarius and Aquarius are the most open-minded signs, and sometimes, I'm like, not all the times. I've personally noticed a trend of homophobia in a lot of Sagittarians. Now this can have a serious turn, or it can have like a more jovial, joking turn to it, because Sagittarius is a jokester, and even I I had, before I had this dingy black tank on, I had like this lime green, well, maybe not even lime green, but it was like a light bluish green beater on, and I was like, I look super gay. I mean, I always look gay. I look gay right now, but I look slightly less gay and a little more trashy, which, you know, is the way I like to present myself. But but yeah, they can be homophobic. They can follow their religion to a T. But there's some who can be also hypocritical. It's kind of difficult to know if a Sagittarius is hypocritical or not. You would just kind of have to get to know them. And then even then, it could be difficult because Sagittarius, Jupiter was a shapeshifter. Sagittarius can act. Sagittarius can fool you, even though this is usually a blunt and honest sign. Sagittarius can fool you. Sagittarius can trick you. They're amazing liars, as long as they don't get caught up in exaggerating things. Um, yeah, Sagittarius can't fool you. So, it's hard, especially because usually the masculine signs are a little more what you see is what you get, and then the feminine signs are kind of like, get to know that person. You might get surprised, but Sagittarius can be kind of a wild card, and the priest can be a wild card. They can be good energy healers. They can be good massage therapists. Actually, my favorite massage therapist was a Sagittarian, and I think I'm a massage therapist, and I always thought it was my Libra energy, but I'm starting to think maybe it's the Sag energy that makes me such a good massage therapist. And I say massage therapist, I am speaking of like a more relaxing massage, still very good and detailed, but a very relaxing massage. And it's weird because when I think of Sagittarius, I don't think of relaxing. Sagittarius is hype energy. This is energetic, bold, loud, explosive energy. So that's an interesting link, and it's Sag though, and Jupiter was good at many. There's not much Jupiter wasn't good at. There wasn't too many things Jupiter couldn't do, and I feel like that is reflected in Sagittarius energy. Sagittarius is one of those signs that it's the archer, and when the archer sees that bullseye, he's hitting it. Sagittarius is hitting the bullseye, and that's part of the reason why, this is a sign of victory. Because is for Sag energy, it is as simple as finding a target. Now it's not that simple for Sag because Sag is good at so many things and Sag is interested in so many things. Now Sag is also the sign of zealousness, especially the priest type. So once Sag finds that thing, oh, it's in love with it and it is loyal to that thing. And Sagittarius can be like that with their lovers too, but Sagittarius can be very, very hoey as well, and I will get to that later. But let's get back to the religious type, the priest. Sagittarius is also the sign of sacred speech, prayer, chants, mantras. Now, this is one of the ways the priest type is hypocritical because the priest type will, if you piss them off, they are the I'm gonna go to God on you type. And I think, and if someone's actually doing something injustice wrong, that I feel like that's your duty as a moral, Christian, or as a moral follower of Zeus or whatever you practice. If it does have that Sagittarian flavor to it, if it is a more moral focused sort of religion, it's your duty to do something like that. However, with this type of Sagittarius, sometimes it's not the person is doing something in like committing an injustice. Sometimes it's just that they got pissed off, and then they'll go to God on them. And to me, that is spell work. Once you cross that line, and I'm being a Sag again. Sagittarius is all about like laws, divine law. So we all have our opinion on what's good and what's bad. But in my opinion, once you're no different than a spellcaster, which I'm not saying being a spellcaster is a bad thing. Like, not at all. But in the Sagittarian religious sort of view, spells are wrong, spells are bad. In almost every mainstream tradition where there is sacred prayer, there's also this concept of spell work, and that spell work is seen as, oh, that's bad, that's a cult, that's a left-hand path. That falls more under Scorpio and the water signs jurisdiction. But yeah, but prayer is good. Going to God is good, but you're still not supposed to go to God just to fuck someone up. But the priest type will go to God to fuck someone up and then still, sit on their moral high ground and talk down about a Wiccan who, well, Wiccans usually don't do negative magic on people, but a person who practices witchcraft, they'll look down on that person and say, you're a witch and you're casting a spell on someone, and it's just like, you just did the same thing. So sometimes, but that's the hypocriticalness of a lot of religious people in general, and that's very Sagittarian. So that's the priest type. The next type I have for you is the wild horse. So Sagittarius is all about that side of us that's still an animal. And some people believe, most astrologers believe, that Sagittarius is about rising above that animalistic side and nurturing and acting upon your more moral, philosophical, high mind, your more civilized side. Which I agree and disagree, because I think you do have to stay connected with that wild side of you. You have to honor that wild side of you as well. I think you have to honor every side of you. Your dark side, your light side, your feminine side, your masculine side. You're not going to be whole if you're only... I mean, if you're honoring 98% of you, there's still 2% of you you're not accounted for. And in my personal experience, in my life, that's when negative things start to happen. That's when you start to be unbalanced. That's when you start to have problems, be it social, emotional, spiritual, mental. Usually they're all interconnected, so it's going to be all in one usually. But so I don't believe that. I believe you need to nurture that wild side of you. However, the wild horse, Sagittarius, can be too fucking wild. Think of DMX. DMX was a Sagittarius. Think of just how reckless and aggressive and just hood and street he was. That's Sagittarius. Think of Trina. Now Trina shows both sides very well. Like if you hear the rapper Trina in an interview, she is so elegant and poised and graceful. And Sagittarius does deal with Mount Olympus. It deals with the palace of heaven. So it does deal with opulence. It does deal with that beautiful, high, elegant side of life. But then when Trina starts rapping, just a ratchet asshole just like pops out of her. And that is me as well. And that is Sagittarius. That is Sagittarius. Very rebellious. Honestly, I think oftentimes Sagittarians are more rebellious than signs like Aquarius, which is known for rebellious, and also Scorpio and Aries, which are also known for being rebellious as well. I think Sagittarians, a lot of times, we have this need for freedom, and they do too, but it's more intense with us. It's more intense with Sagittarians. Like, we're half horse. Sagittarians represents the Centaurs, and Centaurs were half man, half animal. Sometimes they weren't horses, but typically they were half horse. Horses need space to roam. They need to be free to run. And that's a very good way to deal with, like, if you have a lot of hot-tempered, uncontrollable Sagittarius energy, which the wild horse does, start running. Do laps, like literally do laps. Like coaches make their team do laps when they're acting up, do laps. Because I used to have that energy in school where like I would be a really, really good studious student, and then 10 minutes later, I just have this urge to just like act a fool. And some of that was a lack of discipline, but some of that was I just had this energy just need to get out. The fire signs can, especially when they're younger, they can kind of be like little bad little boys in school. They're not really bad because they're bad. They're bad because they got all of this energy, and you got this little boy sitting in class for 8 hours, and little boys don't work like that. Like little girls a lot of times don't work like that, but little boys especially, they don't work like that. You need to run his energy out. So that's what Sag is, and that's what a lot of times the wild horse is. They're high energy, and they just need to run that energy out. They can have an explosive temper when someone if you want to see the wild horse buck, try to control them, try to tell them what to do. Telling them what to do, a lot of times it will just irritate them, and it will be met with like defiance, like instant defiance. Like even if they're adult, they'll just kind of turn into like a teenager a little bit, where it's like, fuck out of here. Like it's like they won't respond like an adult usually. Is even if they are very mature. Like I'm Capricorn dominant. I'm usually kind of stiff a little bit. But if you tell me what to do, especially if you mean it, especially dudes I've dated tried to do this, like it's like you about to get teenage, you about to get petty 16-year-old Daquan. I'm gonna look at you like you fucking stupid, laugh at you, and then do the opposite because you think you can control me. That Sag attitude coming out. There you go, y'all saw it. Yeah, very rebellious. Now if you like try to like physically control them, you're gonna get hands put on you. Like the Sag is gonna snap. Even sometimes, remember I said sometimes with Libra, the only thing that can make them like snap, especially violently, is relationship issues. With the wild horse, even though they can be very violent in general, a lot of times you have Sagittarians that typically aren't violent because they're so jovial and happy and positive, but as soon as you try to control them, it's like instant. It's like I think I saw a video with Tiana Taylor. Tiana Taylor is a Sagittarius, and I don't know. I don't think he put hands on her, but she was in the car, I want to say with her boyfriend, and he did something, said something, and next thing you know, she was welling on him. It's that energy. It's like out of nowhere, they own you. They like throwing hands. Tina Turner, who I mentioned last sign because Ike Turner was a Scorpio. Tina Turner was a Sag. And Sagittarius too. Sagittarius can sometimes, they'll take abuse if they love you. Because Sagittarius, even though, especially this type of Sagittarius, they're known for being like big hoes. You know, they need variety. Sagittarius deals with foreign cultures, and Sagittarius is the jungle fever sign. Sagittarius and Aquarius are the jungle fever types. But more than just race, Sagittarius likes variety. So you'll meet a Sagittarius who's of the more sexually adventurous type, and you look at their phone and they have like a BBW in there who's Latina. They have a petite Asian woman. They have an athletic black woman. They're a lot of times they're bisexual. They'll have a white muscular guy in there. They'll have a Greek average built guy in there. They like it all. Sometimes they will have a favorite Sagittarians and Aquarians, but typically they like them all. And they need to be free, and they Sagittarius, Zeus, Zeus, he was sticking his dick in everything. He was turning into animals, fucking people. I think he was fucking animals just as a regular, like, humanoid being to. Zeus is nasty. Zeus is nasty as fuck. But Sagittarians, the wild horse can be like that. They can just be indiscriminate with their sexuality to the point where it's like, okay, you're not free spirited no more. You're just nasty because you would do fucking anything with anyone. Like it's that energy. And even though I'm not like that, if I'm pent up enough, there's times when I'm like, fuck it, he'd do. I don't like him that much. He'd do. But anyway, yeah, but if they do, if they are the type to fall in love, which some of them can fall in love easily too. Zeus did have genuine love for a lot of his partners. they can't put up with abuse because they just they're zealous. So sometimes they're zealous with their love, and it's just like Sagittarius is also the sign of the eagle, along with Scorpio. And eagles have a mating ritual in which they like clasp hands and they spin around each other, and it's very high energy and it's just very fun. That's what romance is like with a Sagittarius. It's actually why Sagittarius is one of my favorite signs, because like even though Sagittarius, they can say mean things to you, not to hurt you, but just because they're blunt, and they can kind of need their space. If a Sagittarius is into you, like you can feel it, like you can see it when they look at you. They're like, they give you that passion, and they give you that royal treatment too. They will treat you now. They respect to be treated like royalty too, but they will treat you like royalty, like for real, for real. Like if a Sagittarius is like more of a this wants to play that stereotypical feminine role. Like when you come in the house, you ain't gotta cook, you ain't gotta move, take your shoes off. I got you. Like they're taking care of you. But if a Sagittarius woman like that, she gonna want Gucci, Fucci, and Lamaguchi. So like I said, it's like it's two-way street. It's like I treat you like royalty, you treat me like royalty. They can have big asses. Sagittarius is the big booty sign. Now Scorpio is too, and from what I've seen, a lot of Pisces and Aries got big old butts too. Libras a lot of times have nice butts, but not necessarily big butts. But Sag is the ass sign. Usually Sag is that thing poking out, especially the wild horse. And let me go over the last one. The last one is the Demi-God. And Sagittarius, this type is, they can literally act like demigods. They can be narcissistic. They're bigger, they're larger than life, and there can be a good side to that. They can be generous too, but they're narcissistic. I mean, there's no better way to put it. They can act like God in the flesh, and they can think they're God in the flesh. And Sagittarius is a sign that is connected to wealth. Now, it's connected with making a lot of wealth later in life or just falling into wealth, but it can also be connected to like growing up wealthy. So this type can be really like, they can be the do you know who my father is type, all the way 100%. This type they can be angry all the time too. If they feel like the world isn't treating them the way they should be treated, they can be real nasty, and they can be violent, and they can also rise in the ranks of the criminal underworld. Just think of like Lucky Luciano and Pablo Escobar. They're both Sagittarians, and they're both two men who just like stepped into power basically when it comes to like the drug underworld. I'm sorry, but I'm going to like kind of cut this short though, because like my video is about to die. I'm running out of power, and I'm gonna see if I can add to this. So there's gonna be a part 2. So stay tuned.